Good day, colleagues. My name is Marcus Dekenaar, and I'm co-chair of the Load Research chapter. The presentation we have for you today is Load Research Metering and Meter Data Management System. The presenter is Tando Figlan. He's currently a Senior Technologist at Eskom RT&D. Tando holds a BSc in Physics and Applied Maths and an MSc in Project Management. Tando started working in the Demand Management section in Research and Innovation Department of Eskom, where he is attached to the domestic load research portfolio of that section. The center looks after all the data together with the associated hardware and applications that collect and disseminate the data. This is where his efforts have been mostly concentrated ever since. Tando will be telling us about a logging system that's currently monitoring more than 900 premises around the country and provides data to both a Voltage QOS reporting system and for load research studies. The system has been continuously in operation about 10 years and accumulates load profiles at about 300 million load readings per annum. Substantial experience and expertise has been accumulated in the operation of the system. And so without further delay, I hand you over to Tando. Tando, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Marcus. The topic of my talk today is load research metering and meter data management system. What we'll be looking at, the contents is just give an introduction. I'll also go through the flow of the data through the metering and metering system, and then I'll look at the remote data logging system components, the metering system, the data management system, what we do in the field, what we do with the back office. I also give a summary of the system operations when looked into the whole scheme of things. I also reflect on data usage and also give a sense of what our data logger population is like, what challenges we come across and what lessons we have learned, and then I'll conclude with considerations for now and possibly the future. Okay, as an introduction, Eskom is in the process of collecting load profile data towards the SANS 507 domestic load research project. Previously, a manual system of collecting data from an old version of the logger was used, and this has since been phased out. A new Landers and Gear ZMB 405 energy meter-based logger that has been introduced. Each logger can monitor up to a maximum of 3 households and returns 13 load parameters at 5-minute intervals. This system accumulates 300 million date-stamped load readings annually. Currently, about 990 domestic customers are being monitored nationally at 15 sites. To enable coordination of all data-related activities, a load data center was established. Itron's MV90 system is used as a default data logger collection application. Just have a look at the load the data flow. We will have a measurement at a household where we be picking up the voltage and the current. And then the data logger would convert that into a kilowatt value and a kV value, and then would do that for all the 3 households, and then would also measure the mains frequency. And then that data would be will flow to a downloading center, which is a MV90 based system based in Rocheville. And then as an addition to enable us to manage the data better, we've created an auxiliary database, which then we can use to manage the data, and then we can extract some reports related to the data itself. Next, we'll look at the data logging components, a better view of what they would necessarily look like. The field logger will be housed in a box, as you can see in the picture on the left. It's normally meant to be pole mounted. The current version doesn't and under normal circumstances allow you to install it inside a kiosk, mainly due to the size. And then we have the system master station, which is basically the back office where we've got a server and some workstations, some communication devices that help us connect to our APN. And then we've got a link, which is an APN-based system running off the MV90's XICOM application. The metering system itself consists of a data logger. As you can see inside, it's got a meter, some protection devices. Also, see there's a surge arrestor as part of protection. But what you don't see is the modem, which helps us to connect to the meter. It's housed actually inside the meter itself. Then different kinds of CTs. The one which we use mostly is this one, which is a closed core. Then the data management system itself is an MV90 based. So MV90 is a system which has been approved by ESCOM, is used mostly with the billing system of ESCOM. Its hardware is a server-based system with a UPS. The kind of applications which we run is VMware, SQL Server, and the operating system for the workstations on which the MV90 runs is Windows 7 based. And for our communications, we just use an HSDPA router. As part of field operations, we would include site inspections. Basically, before and during the management of the sites, we need to inspect the sites to make sure that the requisite conditions are there so that we can successfully do the installations. When we do the installations and during the maintenance of the sites, there's some documentation which we need to fill. We need to be able to liaise because we don't work alone. We don't own our own bakkies and climbing equipment. So part of the field operations involve that, as well as providing feedback to the main system master station. Now, at the back office, some of the operations would be the meter configuration. Meter configuration just entails giving the logger or the meter an identity, telling it what its name is, so that you'll be able to identify it in the future to know where it is, and also giving it an identity as to what parameters it has to measure and what displays it would need to show if you need to see some information from it. That is achieved using the default software from Landers and Gear. It's called MAP 120. This is just more on the meter configuration, what kinds of parameters gets configured, like the manual displays. What if you need to see something on the meter itself, and then what if you need to scroll through the display, what you would be able to see. Now, what you also need to do, you need to tell the system master station what loggers you've got installed and where they are. So this is where you do it in the MV90 system. This will allow you then to be able to communicate with them, and then the data collected from each meter would be associated with that meter and would link to that particular site. Part of the back office operations also would include then the making sure that the metering data is returned, which is mostly done every day because the system is configured to download every night, and then in the morning you can see if there are any any issues with some of the communications with some of the meters. Also, as part of the back office operations is to validate the data. Some of the parameters can be configured in the system, like checking if there are zero values, spikes, and all of that. And then there's a report which the MV90 system can produce, and then you can have a look at that and see if you're still retaining good data. Also, as an extension to what can be done on the MV90 system, but now with the help of the auxiliary database which we have, we've been able to adapt a script which can actually help us have a look at the channels. And then that script was written in R, and then you can actually see what you can actually visualize much better than what MV90 is able to provide you. You can have a look at each and every channel individually and see which loggers are actually returning good data, and if whether you need to act. And it's done better this way than what MV90 is capable of. Also, what you can get from MV90, there's some logs, like if you want to see your communication performance. This is a default log which is built into the MV90 system. Now, looking at the whole system operation, you see that where the actual MV90 sits, which is almost central to the or the other or operations which do not form part of this presentation. But part of what falls into what we do would be stuff like site maintenance, where we maintain sites as part of the overall load research process. Taking social demographic surveys would be part of that. And then, but as part of the meter management team, the data verification, verifying the installation, data quality reporting, and there's some backups which we need to do. Maintaining the communication. So this is just an overview of where the MV90 system sits into the overall scheme of things. Next, we like to reflect on data usage. This is just a screenshot from the router which we have, which helps us to be able to estimate the amount of data which we use. As a facility, we need to be able to know how much we spend on our data on a daily or monthly basis. What we have is currently is a data contract of about 10 gigs, and we estimate that we use about 10 rand worth of data to collect all our data on a daily basis. Currently, if we look at our logger populations, we can see that we've got sites, total 15 of them as of this year. We've got a total of about 991 households which we log, and total number of loggers is about 451. And the age, as you can see, is from about 10 to the last one which we installed, that was as of 2019. It's about 2 years old, and the median age is about 7 years. Okay, now into the challenges we've had going through this journey and what lessons we have learned. GPRS with the private APN has been most effective. Also, we have realized that a master station capable of automatic scheduling is more suitable than a manual system. mean, if you look at having to manage more than 400 meters on a daily basis, and if you would have to download each of one manually, what amount of time would have to use to do that? Also, what we've learned is that careful attention to contracting other services such as APN is important, because if, for example, you don't pay your lines, then your GPRS lines would be cut off, and then you wouldn't have comms. Also, in our case, we've had challenges when it comes to procuring hardware and some software, because of mainly corporate rules which are not conducive. Also, what we've learned is that it is easier to have remote connectivity for software support, because to have to wait for someone to travel from far away to come to your site is not very conducive. Also, what we've learned is that our relationships with people which help us to access the meters needs to be good, because we found that in most cases, the field service people in the regions, when they do maintenance, if they don't like you or they think that your device is not having any benefits for them, and then they will just either switch it off or just vandalize it. Then what we think are considerations for now and the future, seeing that there is a growing need for data services from other users within the research landscape, we need to see how best we can configure the system to cater for these, and what our upgrades we need to put into place. This is because of that currently our system is not on the ESCOM network. Also, we find that the energy supply industry is changing rapidly, and the introduction of renewable energy sources like PV is a reality. It may become necessary to source loggers that are suitable to monitor such installations. We've been having a lot of requests from people wanting to log PV installations, and we've not been able to help them. Also, we feel that with the imminent discontinuation of GPRS as a GSM service, we need to consider how best we'll be able to meet our communication requirements, maybe from using technology like what is available in the IoT space. Also, we'll need to prepare for a time when, say, the larger business won't be able to support the existing data acquisition software. And also maybe we would need to start exploring the use of other open source applications, especially if we need to manage our licensing costs. And with that, I come to the end. I thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a very interesting presentation. Tando, I see you've got 400 meters in the field, and you're saying 300 million load readings a year. That's roughly 34,000 readings an hour, or 570 readings a minute. That's quite an appreciable data flow into essentially a research system. Do you find that the controls on your system being a research system are quite different from that which the corporate side typically handles as a normal business flow?
Our system, compared to the overall business, which uses the same system for billing, where they've got different kinds of meters, ours is less complicated in the sense that firstly we use one kind of device, which is a landers and gear-based meter, and then also we don't have the overall stress that occurs in the distribution business, where you've got billing dates, you have to have data by a certain time. I don't think it's any is that different. It's only the fact that you don't have to report everything to IT, or IT tells you what you need to do and how you need to do it. But you're always cognizant of the fact that you need to apply to certain data management related protocols.
Tando, another question about the reliability of this download system. You have 400 meters in the field. How often would you say that you need to send somebody out to site, electronics? And even with the prepaid meter, they do require servicing.
So to a site once in 3 months. And we have 15 sites, and we currently have 2 people that are running all the sites.
You did touch briefly on the types of data checking that you have. You said you were checking for zeros, and you had other flagging which was going on there.
Yeah.
Are you aware of the typical requirements that MV90 seems to have, and do you have access to those?
You either be looking at an interval or at a channel. So there's a channel status, and also there's an interval status. So regardless of what kind of meter or how many parameters you are actually looking, so you'd be looking at those flags at an interval and at a channel level.
But you handle it on a set and forget basis.
Yeah.
Tando, thank you so much for taking the opportunity to present here. We hope to see you in future.
Thanks, Marcus.